Live, this is News 8 at 11.
New tonight, the sole survivor of the Cheshire home invasion is speaking out as the two men who murdered his wife and daughters are spared death. Historic ruling. Good evening. I'm Ann Nyberg. The state Supreme Court has ended the death penalty in Connecticut. The two men convicted of the 2007 Cheshire home invasion and the lives of 9 other men on death row are now saved by the ruling that the state's death penalty is now unconstitutional. Dr. Bill Pettit has spent years pursuing justice for the men who murdered his family. News 8's Josh Scheinblum has his reaction.
I was at a hearing when I noticed that my phone started beeping on a regular basis.
When John Kardaras received news the Connecticut Supreme Court ruled a state law that repealed the death penalty but allowed for executions to be carried out for those convicted before the law's passing is unconstitutional, he felt as though decades of hard work had paid off.
It was a good day, and it's about time.
Kardaras is president of the Connecticut Network to Abolish the Death Penalty, an organization which lobbied legislators to get the original statute passed in 2012. He thinks the ruling is a move towards justice.
It's a basic human rights and human dignity issue that the state has now joined the rest of the civilized world.
Not all, however, are happy about the court's decision. Dr. William Pettit, whose wife and 2 children were brutally murdered in 2007, feels his family is not getting the justice they deserve. In a statement, he said, quote, "The dissenting justices clearly state how the 4 members of the majority have disregarded keystones of our government structure, such as the separation of powers and the role of judicial precedent to reach the decision they hand down today." The Catholic Church in Connecticut has been a vocal opponent to the death penalty, and advocates say it was with their help, as well as with those from many other religious institutions, that helped make today possible. Kardaras says he understands how people like Dr. Pettit feel when it comes to the death penalty. But he and fellow anti-death penalty advocates argue that even though the act is gone, punishment still remains.
Now that they're off death row, they will not be in the paper, they will not be in the press, they will not be getting the attention. They will be put away and forgotten and left to rot where they deserve.
Josh Scheinblum, News 8.
We're waiting for the Diocese of Hartford to send out an official statement on the ruling, but a priest in that diocese is talking. Father Michael White of West Simsbury says, quote, "None of us want to be judged on our worst day, and as we stand before God one day seeking his mercy, shouldn't we extend mercy to the others?" The court recognized that society has evolved and that there are few reasons to put people to death. Here's a look at why these 11 men were sitting on death row. Stephen Hayes and Joshua Komarzarjevsky were convicted of killing Jennifer Hawk Pettit and her 2 daughters during a home invasion in Cheshire in 2007. They were sentenced to death in 2012. Richard Roskowski was sentenced to death for the 2006 murders of 2 adults and a 9-year-old girl in Bridgeport. He was sentenced to death last year. Lizelle Ashby was convicted of raping and murdering his 21-year-old neighbor in her apartment in 2002. Jesse Campbell, convicted in 2000 in the shooting deaths of his aunt, as well as a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old. Russell Peeler was convicted of ordering the killing of his mother and an 8-year-old boy in 1999. Todd Rizzo was convicted of killing a 13-year-old boy with a sledgehammer in 1997. Richard Reynolds convicted in 1992 of killing a Waterbury police officer. Daniel Webb was convicted of killing and kidnapping a 37-year-old bank vice president in 1989. Cedric Cobb, convicted of kidnapping, murder, and sexual assault of a 23-year-old in 1989. And Robert Breton was convicted of killing his former wife and their teenage son in 1987. For more on today's ruling and the timeline of the death penalty in our state, go to our website, WTNH.com. We are following some breaking news out of Waterbury. The reported photo sent in to us of a large fire burning on Bristol Street. No word yet on any injuries or what started this. We're told the building is an old factory. It is abandoned. We have a crew on the scene. We'll get you the latest in a live report as soon as we can. New Haven police are testing out body cameras. The department will launch a 90-day pilot program to test out different styles on September the 1st. At the end of that trial, one will be selected for permanent use. The state of Connecticut and the Obama administration are promoting the use of body cameras to address the nationwide tensions over relations between police and the policed. West Hartford police are investigating a bank robbery. It happened at TD Bank on South Main. Police say it's the same man accused in another robbery earlier this month. If you recognize him from these photos, give police a call. Live look at New Haven this evening. We have a heat wave on the way. How hot is it going to get? Let's check in with meteorologist Sam Cantor to find out. Hi, Sam.
Hi there. It will get very, very hot. We got one more day where it's not going to feature incredibly hot and incredibly sticky weather before we throw ourselves straight back into the fire in the literal sense, where it is going to feel so much warmer out there. Also, when you factor in the humidity too. Don't forget, it's still the summertime. We're still in August. It's not abnormal to get that kind of weather. Nothing happening on our radar view. We're not going to need that today. We're not going to need that tomorrow, which is just fantastic. Let's look at our temperatures across the state. We're seeing some 60s, have not yet seen any 50s have popped up on the map there. A few of these towns may be a little bit optimistic with those temps. Old Mystic may actually be 70, but Southington probably around 62 or 63 degrees. A couple spots will get into the 50s over the next half hour or so. And as we head through the overnight hours, we're going to see our temperatures continue to fall down into the 50s for many locations across Connecticut. But the heat, the humidity, it's coming. I promise you. We're going to talk about that in your weekend forecast when we return. See you in about 15 minutes.
And thanks so much. After 6 long years of construction, the State Street Bridge is going to be reopened tomorrow. There was a ceremony, though, today. It was supposed to take 2 years. It took 6. There's a lot of businesses in that area that are happy to be open. And there are a lot of good things coming to that neighborhood, including a brewery and a kayak launch, plus a building full of new apartments. News 8's Jason Newton joins us live with more on this up-and-coming neighborhood. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Ann, that's right. Tomorrow is supposed to be the big day after years of setbacks and budget issues. The State Street Bridge is set to reopen tomorrow, and at the same time, the larger neighborhood is poised for a renaissance. After years of delay, it appears the reopening of State Street will happen Friday. People who live and work close by were so happy they threw a block party right on the bridge Thursday evening, complete with music, mingling, rock climbing, and of course, pizza.
At this point, people have been, tired of being strung along about when it's going to open. And here we are, knock on wood, it's finally happening.
The bridge reopening will do more than reconnect the roadway. It's also reconnecting 2 areas of New Haven that are starting to bubble with economic activity.
It's a place for creators to create, for people to be inspired, for the future innovators and the people around here, or the people that want to be that are attracted to New Haven, to come in and make a new home.
David Salinas is talking about future plans for the former Connecticut Transit building at State and James. The 7-acre site now sits abandoned. Salinas hopes by next year it will be filled with bright ideas, serving as a creative and technology campus.
Roughly about 250 to 300 people working on the property that vary in size and scope of their companies.
A place for people to work and play hard, the district, as it's called, also has plans for a backyard beer garden, a bistro, and a kayak launch onto the Mill River. And on the other side of the river, a former eyesore, vacant for over 20 years, is coming to life as a mixed-use retail residential building, sure to increase foot traffic and commerce in the area. Good news for small business owners who have eagerly awaited the bridge reopening and the emerging economic energy.
I'm so happy. I really am. That's why I'm here, to finally walk and see it come to fruition after all these years.
So everybody seems happy about the bridge supposed to be opening up tomorrow. Now, it was supposed to take 2 years to complete. It ended up taking 6 years in total to complete, and it was supposed to have a budget of about $5 million. It ended up being 5 times more than that at $25 million. We're live tonight in New Haven. Jason Newton, News 8.
All right, thanks so much. And to see more from today's ceremony and the history of the State Street Bridge, go to our website, WTNH.com. The mayor of New York City says officials have gotten a hold of the Legionnaires' outbreak that's coming up.
I'm like, we gotta go. Yep, out. I'm like pushing people out of the way.
More than 700 were rushed out of Minneapolis nightclub. Officials tonight trying to figure out what caused a roof to collapse there. The video's coming up. Rumors are flying that Al Gore is eyeing the 2016 race as he's taking another run at the presidency. And more than 200 New Haven students are celebrating tonight. We'll tell you why when we return. 250 students from New Haven celebrated this evening as they earned scholarships to cover in-state college tuition. The program is called the New Haven Promise, and this year's 253 city students, a record number for those who won the award. Students must maintain at least a B average and also have high attendance records to qualify. Yale University funds the entire thing, and this year they shelled out $4 million worth of prize money. Connecticut currently has one of the highest income gaps and education achievement gaps between rich and poor in the country.
Those kind of income gaps play out in so many different ways in this state. At least here in the area of higher education, we can try to close that gap. We can try to make college accessible.
More and more of our students are eligible for this program, and it encourages them, one, to come back to New Haven, and two, to pursue their educational goals.
The program is now in its 5th year. The scholarships cover the cost of tuition for both public and private Connecticut schools. The search for a missing couple from Easton goes on. What their family is saying about their disappearance, that's coming up.
Motor vehicle accident, bus into a structure.
A bus carrying school children slams into a liquor store. We'll tell you where that happened and how the children are doing tonight. And a frantic search for survivors in a massive explosion in China.
You're watching News 8 at 11.
It's now been 9 days since a couple from Easton was last seen. This evening, their family is saying it has nothing to do with their reported financial problems. Jeanette and Jeffrey Navin have been missing since August the 4th. Their truck was found parked along the Merritt Parkway in Westport. News 8 has learned they were at least $1 million in debt. In a statement, the family says in part, quote, financial issues recently reported by the media have not been proven to be a factor for our family member's disappearance. A man has died after being hit by a roller coaster in Ohio. 45-year-old James Young walked into a restricted area at Cedar Point Amusement Park and was hit by the Raptor roller coaster. Police say he was trying to get his cell phone and other belongings that fell off the ride. He was killed at the scene. 11 children were recovering after a scary school bus ride early this morning. The bus crashed into an SUV, then hit a store in New York City. The children were on their way to school in West Orange. Police say the bus driver told investigators the brakes failed and she lost control. The children were aged 3 to 11. All were taken to the hospital. None was seriously injured. Officials in Minneapolis are investigating how a 30 by 30-foot section of a nightclub ceiling fell during a concert, injuring at least 3. The landmark nightclub became a nightmare when the ceiling caved in on the concert goers. Adding to the chaos, water pipes bursting, sending a deluge of water onto the floor.
Water was pouring out, pouring all over people, and they were pulling the ceiling off, so we were trying to figure out if there was anyone underneath it.
And all of a sudden, some of the ceiling came down. This girl was underneath even more of the ceiling from there, and they drug her out of there.
Imagine police and firefighters rushed to the scene, helped evacuate more than 700 people. Investigators said today it's too soon to know what caused this collapse. They added that the building has no previous code violations. Out of China, incredible images emerging after the blasts rocked the city of Tianjin. At least 50 dead, many killed, the number of injured climbing to at least 500. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez is following the latest developments.
Today, hundreds of people hospitalized, recovering after these massive explosions.
Oh. What the?
Dozens of people killed, including firefighters who were called to the scene a half hour earlier for a fire in a warehouse storing hazardous material. They, along with everyone living nearby, caught off guard.
No way!
The force and the flames ripping through neighboring homes where migrant workers were asleep. ABC's Bob Woodruff at the scene today.
Look at us, just absolutely destroyed. Oh my God. These are people's homes. This is where they live.
Devastating damage throughout the major port city. Even a mile away, windows left shattered.
Oh my God.
We were getting a shock wave. It rattled all the doors and seemed like big wind and stuff. And then the big one that hit was the one that really felt like an earthquake.
China's president promises a thorough and transparent investigation. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, New York.
An update on the deadly Legionnaire's disease being spread around New York City. Mayor Bill de Blasio says the outbreak is under control, at least for now. 12 people have died from the disease and more than 100 have gotten ill. Cooling temperatures in the Bronx appear to be the source of the outbreak. It's been more than a week since a new case has been reported.
We remain confident that this outbreak is contained. We are obviously very, very pleased to say that the information you've heard now for days and days remains consistent. No brand new cases since August 3rd, so now a full 10 days since we've seen a new case.
De Blasio announcing new legislation on inspecting and maintaining the cooling towers. Legionnaire's disease is a type of pneumonia. People get the disease when they breathe in a mist or vapor that has been contaminated with Legionella bacteria. ISIS is claiming responsibility for an attack that killed at least 60 and injured hundreds. It happened at a market in Baghdad. The Iraqi interior minister says his truck packed with explosives blew up at the crowded market. At least 200 are injured because of Iraq's political and economic instability. The ISIS has been able to flourish in both Iraq and Syria. 1 week after a devastating toxic chemical spill, Colorado's governor says the water is safe once again in Durango. Some are wondering, though, 3 million gallons of toxic sludge poured into the abandoned mine containing high levels of arsenic and lead. It spilled into the river during an EPA accident. To prove the water is safe, the governor drank straight from the Animas River along with a protective iodine tablet.
I just drank a full slug. It didn't taste bad at all.
EPA is taking full responsibility for the disaster as attorneys general from 3 states now consider whether to file lawsuits. Health experts also recommend when drinking backcountry water from any source, you have to do more than just add an iodine tablet. They suggest also using a water filter to prevent other serious illnesses. Mosquitoes in 11 cities and towns in Connecticut have tested positive for West Nile. Bridgeport, Chester, Greenwich, Norwalk, Stratford have now been added to the list. Previously, Darien, Guilford, New Haven, Stamford, West Haven, Waterford, all testing positive. So make sure any buckets or pots that may have collected rain in this week are emptied. They attract mosquitoes. A live look outside at the capital city of Hartford this evening. Meteorologist Sam Cantrell joins us now with your Storm Team 8 forecast, and we're almost to the weekend, Sam.
We are almost to the weekend, and as we head towards the weekend, we will notice some very, very big changes. If you have a 3-day weekend, you'll have sort of 3 totally different days. Tomorrow featuring plenty of sunshine, low humidity, a high temperature around 86. Then the heat comes up for Saturday and for Sunday. The difference between these 2 days, the likelihood for a couple of showers that'll pass on by for us on Saturday. Be honest, not sold on a tremendous amount of rain with these showers, but some of them will be a little bit of a nuisance for you during your weekend plans. We'll talk about that in a sec. Now in North Stamford, the coolest spot I'm noticing in western Connecticut at 59 degrees. Granby is seeing a temperature of 60, mid-60s for a bunch of locations. Columbia 67, the temp up in Danielson at about 61 degrees. Keep cooling down through the overnight hours pretty nicely thanks to the low humidity around. So the shoreline will see temps about 64 by tomorrow morning. A significantly cooler temperature inland, mid-50s expected. If you're at the shore, you might run the ACs. Inland, you're probably not going to need to use those. And give them a break because trust me, it's going to change in a big way over the next couple of days. It's 81 right around lunchtime across Connecticut. Tomorrow we'll warm up to a high temperature between 83 and 86. Low humidity for 1 more day before we head into the weekend, and that's when the big changes start to come. Humidity is out there on Saturday, that's for sure, and our temperature inland close to 90 degrees. We may be just a degree or 2 shy of that on Saturday. We're still splitting hairs though. A few passing showers and a few rumbles of thunder likely, but because the humidity is so high, the coverage won't be big, but some of them may feature kind of heavy rain. We'll watch it for Saturday, and we'll see the timing as we get a little bit closer to that. Kind of a variable forecast, and there's updates on WXEdge.com about that, by the way. We're mostly sunny for us on Sunday, which is good. Hot temperatures and humidity means it's going to feel like it's about 95 degrees for Sunday. The real hot day, the hottest one of which is going to be on Monday. The shoreline probably won't end up getting a heat wave, by the way. We got plenty of sunshine around for Monday, a few passing showers and thunderstorms Tuesday and Wednesday, but inland, we are looking at the potential for a heat wave Sunday into the day on Tuesday, and that would be officially our second heat wave of this summer season. See how things pan out as we get closer. We'll get a pretty close shot at being able to get that.
Alrighty. Boy, is it hot. All
Yeah,
right, thanks so
sure.
much.
You're welcome.
And make sure to wake up at 5 a.m. with the Good Morning Connecticut team. You'll get all your news and weather there as well. Donald Trump still leading in the polls, but we're also getting word of a possible curveball for Hillary Clinton. Could Al Gore be ready to run? ABC's Stephanie Ramos has more.
The marathon to the White House continues. We're learning Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton could get new competition on the campaign trail from someone in her own party, former Vice President Al Gore. Some of Gore's advisors have started holding meetings to discuss his possible run for the White House.
Ladies and gentlemen, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
GOP presidential contender Donald Trump plans to slide right into Iowa this weekend. He's already stacked his campaign, hiring 10 staffers in Iowa, more in New Hampshire and South Carolina. He may possibly add some staff support in Nevada as well. The billionaire business mogul continues to lead in the polls and is now drawing even more criticism from his rivals for a controversial new ad featuring one of the most vicious killers, Jihad John, from the ISIS videos. And here's the latest. Republican presidential candidate Rand Paul using Trump's own past statements to suggest he's not really a Republican.
I probably identify more as a Democrat. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
Trump isn't at all fazed.
I said, Rand, I've had you up to here. I've had you.
Despite the verbal battles, concern from the GOP and rival candidates, Donald Trump is marching on with his campaign with Iowa in his sights. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Washington.
All right, we're going to return to that breaking news in Waterbury, where a large fire is burning at an old factory building. News 8's Josh Scheinblum is live on the scene with the latest. Josh, what do we know?
And the fire is raging at this time. We're here on Bristol Street. It's difficult to see exactly just how extensive that fire is at this time from our current vantage point, but we can tell you that the Waterbury Fire Department is on scene. They've shut down this section of roadway. Where you really get your best view that we saw actually is when you're driving it. It's right off of Route 8. There's a large plume of fire and smoke that's lighting up the night sky. It goes easily 200 feet in the air. It's really quite impressive. We have been reaching out and talking with officials with the Waterbury Fire Department. They tell us at this time that factory appears to be an old factory, one that's not currently in use. They haven't requested at this time any assistance from any neighboring fire departments, and they are doing their best to contain it. Now, clearly, this is a fluid situation that is developing and still ongoing. We're going to be working to gather some more information here, and clearly the firefighters are working hard to battle that fire. But in the meantime, stay with us as we continue to follow this story. For now, we're live in Waterbury. Josh Scheinblum, News 8.
All right, Josh, thanks so much. Well, the Yankees fall short again. The highlights are coming up on Sports Edge. And despite a 4-game suspension, Tom Brady takes the field in a preseason game. That's coming. All right, time for sports. Noah's here. What do you have?
We have baseball, not just the Major League Baseball either. It's summertime, but we have some local teams, and I typically don't like to get too much into the youth leagues because I want them just to have fun.
I know.
But they're having some fun here as we have some local youth teams doing some great things. We're going to start with the Little League Regionals. This team from Waterford is playing in the Bristol Regional, and remember, the winner of the regional goes to the Little League World Series in Williamsport. It's much more important for them to have fun than win. Let's keep that in mind. The Waterford team beats a team from Maine today, 15-5. Waterford now plays an elimination game. I don't want to sound soft when I say this, right? But they're 12. Let's keep that in mind. Right. Anyway, they play an elimination game tomorrow against a team from Rhode Island. Now some older kids, the American Legion World Series. Connecticut is represented by a team from players from Cromwell, Portland, and Rocky Hill. But this RCP team, as it's known, loses its opening round game out in Shelby, North Carolina, beaten by a team from Michigan, which goes on a scoring spree. 2 runs in the second and 5 in the fourth. That's what you're seeing here. 12-1 is the final score, but this is a double elimination tournament as well, so this Connecticut team is still alive. Now to Major League Ball. It's been a tough week in Yankee land. The Bombers not exactly hitting the cover off the ball over the last week or so, and Toronto wins again today. So the second-place Yankees desperate for a win, and they get it, get some big offense. Brian McCann comes up with a big hit. How's this to get the game going? A 3-run homer. This is in the first inning. Talk about giving your team a lift. His 20th homer of the year. Second inning, Stephen Drew. That's his 15th homer of the year. You don't think of him as hitting 15 home runs. He's having kind of a weak offensive year, but he still has 15 homers. It was 4-0. The Yanks get out to a 7-2 lead, but have to hold on to beat Cleveland. 8-6 is the final to keep pace with Toronto. The Blue Jays, as we mentioned, also win today. Mets finish off a sweep of the Colorado Rockies. Some great offensive performances. How about Curtis Granderson? He drives in 3 runs, 2 of them on this, his 20th homer of the year. Kelly Johnson also homers, plus he has 2 doubles. He drives in 3 runs on the day, and then Juan Lagares comes in as a pinch hitter, and here you go, a 3-run homer. It all adds up to a 12-3 Met victory. The Mets now have a 4-game lead in their division. With still no resolution yet between the NFL and Tom Brady facing a 4-game suspension, the Patriot quarterback had to be thrilled to actually play in a game tonight. What do you think, Ant? A preseason game against the Packers. Brady getting quite the ovation as he makes his way out the tunnel. Patriot fans showing their full support of him. These games are not for players like Brady to play a lot. Just 2 series tonight. He completes 1 pass. Jimmy Garoppolo gets some time. May get a lot of time in the regular season. Maybe, who knows, the first 4 games. Anyway, we'll see. He throws this interception, but he was 20 of 30. With 159 yards. The Patriots lose, but it's preseason, so who cares? 22-11 is your final score. All right, it's golf's final major tournament of the year, the PGA Championship. There are a lot of guys contending for the lead there in Kohler, Wisconsin, at the Whistling Straits Golf Course. A beautiful course. But this afternoon with a little wind, it made for some tough shots. How do you deal with tough? Well, how about this? Rory McIlroy from the water, returning to play after an ankle injury. He ends up with par on this hole. But when you're hitting out of the tall grass like this, it could make it difficult, and McIlroy shows that. Still, he was 1 under par. Phil Mickelson is having to play a little chaser here, but you have to watch this shot. This is his 3rd shot on the par 5, puts a little spin on the ball. It's coming back. How about that? It doesn't go in. You got to be bummed. Anyway, David Lingmerth is the closest to the leader. He is at -5, and your clubhouse leader is Dustin Johnson at 6 under par. He says he's feeling pretty good.
Today was pretty easy, I would have to say. But I was swinging well, and I was hitting the shots, where I was looking. So anytime you're doing that, it makes things a lot easier on you.
A couple local guys on the scoreboard. They're on sportsedge.com.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay.
And thanks for joining us tonight.